At Pike Consulting Group, we're changing the culture of safety.
What's going on, all my YouTube friends? Captain Joe here at the best little garage in Pinellas County. We got the man, Mr. Ed Fernandez here. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
We're here at Suncoast Auto Marine in Indian Shores, and today we're going to be doing a repair on an old power pole. So I've got my boat right over here, and this power pole is very old. It's the year 2021, and this power pole came with the boat. I'm pretty sure this is made in 07, 08 model, Century 2202, and the power pole that's come with it has seen a lot of use. So finally it snapped. I mean, this thing's been stopping the boat as it slid across the flats for years. So we had a failure here with the Knuckle, and because Power Pole's customer service is so amazing, they sent the parts right on over, got me taken care of. Gotta love the customer service there at Power Pole. But today here at Ed's shop, we're gonna go ahead and fix this issue. And this is not a common issue, but when you get a power pole that is this old and has stopped the boat thousands of times, you know, eventually something like this can happen. So what are you thinking, Ed? What are your thoughts right now?
Well, to do a repair on basically any power pole, if you were going to replace the stern bracket or the spike,
The knuckle up there?
Knuckle.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that, you know, that are easy to do. And the first thing to start off with would be to take the bolt loose from the ram.
Right.
And that'll basically service any part of this. So if you were going to rebush it, that's the first thing you want to do so that you can operate it, so you can work with it.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to get started. So we're going to go ahead and lower the power pole. It still works. It's just that the spike broke.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that. So are the batteries on?
Yep, it's on. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock.
So I'm going to climb in and lower it. So anytime you're working on any of these power poles, the first thing you want to do is just loosen up the ram. And that just breaks the two halves apart and allows you to work on each piece. So
What size socket is that?
this one here is 7/16. This is an older model, so this one uses 1/4 inch bolts. The newer models use 5/16 and 3/8 bolts. So that's, you know, as Power Pole has upgraded the power poles, they've changed the size of the bolts.
Gotcha.
So basically that's what we're doing right now, is just lowering this.
Okay. Think
So-
those bushings are still good?
Yeah, the bushings look pretty good. You know, there's probably a few that could be changed, but right now we're gonna put this on a bench right here, and we're ready to go. So now we're just gonna take these two bolts loose and pull the knuckle off and put the new one on.
Sweet.
So as you can see, I have this bolt is a little bent, so we're going to try to replace that one before we put it back in. This is the ram bolt. It happens a lot on the rams where the bolts just bend, and then sometimes they'll break. But while we got it out, we'll go ahead and change that one out.
Sweet.
So the first thing you want to do, 7/16 on this one. Like I said, on the newer models, they're 5/16 bolts, which you would use a 1/2 inch wrench and socket. So we'll take this upper one off. Got the bushings there. There's also bushings in here that'll fall out. like this.
Yep. You want to save as many of the parts as you
Save
can.
as many of the parts. We're going to put all those bushings back in.
Never hurts to have a few extra parts.
And so now we're going to take the lower one off. So power poles are pretty basic, and they're easy to service. So, you know, if you ever need to rebush your own or replace a part like this, they come apart pretty easy. A trick to putting these back together would be to have a little grease so that you can grease these bushings and hold them in place as well. So right now I'm going to pull this bolt out, and it's got the bushings already in place. And here comes the steering knuckle.
That's going to pop right out there.
Pop right out, and the other two bushings fell out, which we'll be putting in as well. I'm pretty sure the kit comes with the new bushings. We haven't opened the box yet, but we will now. And
we're going to do it like Christmas.
right. So,
but there's your damaged part right there. You can see, like, it's a pretty nasty break right there.
It's nasty, but back in the day, these were all made out of composite material, and the materials that they make them out of now are much more robust. So, you know, this doesn't happen. But
sure, I'm sure it wasn't a super common even back then, but it would happen every now and then. And this thing has seen a ton of use, So this came from JL, as you can see. JL Marine is the parent company.
Is the parent company of Power Pole, if you didn't know.
Really nice.
So the new one is the exact same pieces we took off. So, you know, it's not made out of the material that the newer power poles are made out of. It's made out of the same material that these were because of the way they fit. And, you know, the bushings and everything have changed over the years. So that's why they have the replacement part still for these older units. And it does come with the bushing kit. This is everything that we'll need.
All that new hardware, that's really nice.
Oh, they gave you the whole kit.
That's awesome.
So this is the knuckle. Okay. So we're going to start with the inside bushings. The bushings for the top half that go on the outside.
A couple of lock nuts there.
And the washers.
And washers.
So I always try to put the excuse me, the bolts back in the same way they came out. These it's been somebody's worked on this before, so there's a few of the bolts that are facing the other way.
That was probably me.
So we're just going to put everything back. Washer, outside bushing, and this bolt will have the same thing. Washer, and so what we're going to do is have once again, a little grease helps to hold the bushings in place. I wasn't prepared totally, but we are now. We have some grease.
Yeah, got to have that on there.
And just put a little dab of grease on here.
What type of grease is it?
Just any kind of grease that'll hold the bushings in so they don't slip out. And we're going to put one in there and another one
on the other side.
On the other side. And then on the knuckle as well, there's two bushings that go in here. And we're just going to put a little grease on that. And this one's going to go in here. And Simple. So we'll get the top half first. Okay, and then we just slide it in place. So you have to press it a little bit to get it in, but there.
Looks like it went there.
Just spread it apart a little bit and it goes right in.
Goes right in there.
Forgot to take that old bushing out.
Yep, get rid of that.
And we
Definitely
have
want to
new.
get rid of your old bushings, especially
Right.
when you got new ones.
So, you know, since we used a little grease, we're going to go ahead and put a little grease on here. Helps to keep the bushings from deteriorating. And that's going to go in all the way to the other side. And of course, there's another bushing on the other side, which we have here.
Got rid of the old one. In with the new.
In with the new washer.
New washer.
And a new nut.
New nut.
So we're just going to put this in here finger tight for now.
And then lock it all down at the end.
Yeah, and lock it all down. We'll just take a couple of turns on it. And now we'll start on the bottom. So I'm going to remove the bottom bushings. They didn't fall out by themselves, so here you can see there's one. This one did fall out. And there's also an outer bushing here that we're going to replace as well.
There it goes.
And the washer. So
See, this is why you
all
come
the
to
old-
Ed, because I would have just been like, oh, it's in there, it's fine. But they gave you good parts to use, so
Right, so I've
better
already
use it.
added the washer and the outer bushing. I'm going to put a little more dab of grease in here. And, first off, the new bushings. Get rid of the old ones here. So 2 go on the inside.
Is that an old one right there?
Yeah, that's an old one. A little grease there. Press that in, it'll hold in place. A little bit more grease on the next one. Press that in, it goes in place. A little more grease on these knuckle bushings. And these will go in here. There's that one in place, and this one as well. Push that in. Same thing on these. I'm probably gonna have to spread it out a little bit. I got a little grease to help it, but it's gonna slide right in with a little pressure. Open it up. And bolt goes through. Make sure it goes through both sides. It does. And outside bushing, washer, and nut. Simple.
Pretty simple stuff.
And we'll just take a couple of turns to get this thing.
If you've never done shallow water fishing with a power pole, once you do, you'll never want to go back.
1 is great, but
2 is amazing.
2, 1, you're still gonna pivot, but 2,
Yeah.
you ain't moving.
What I do is I just use my trolling motor on a low power setting and pick a heading, and it will hold the bow wherever I want to go.
So that's basically it. The job is completed. We're gonna go ahead and put it all back together, and then on the final, once it's all together, we'll tighten these bolts at the end.
Exactly, and then we'll put the spike in. It looks like Power Pole has sent us some extra hardware, so I think we're gonna go ahead and take care of these bushings and bolts here.
Stern bracket bushings. So we're gonna tighten this power pole right up. You know, it's an older power pole, but it still works. These things are bulletproof. after years of wear and tear, the bushings go bad.
Right.
And so it's got a little bit of play in it. We've already done the knuckle at the top and replaced all the bushings. So now we're going to do it, the stern bracket bushing set. So simple. First order of business whenever you're doing a power pole again is you want to undo the ram. And just take that bolt out and the two spacers, and now you can work freely on the power pole. When you're redoing the bushings, you want to do one set at a time. You don't want to take the whole pole apart.
Right.
So we're going to start with the top and then we'll go to the bottom.
Sweet. There's a lot of reasons why I come to Ed for any type of maintenance or installation. The guy just straight up knows boats. He knows just about everything there is to know about power poles, trolling motors, jack plates. I mean, the guy can fix a boat. And I've been coming to Ed for years to do stuff like this. He's got the knowledge to get this stuff done quickly and make far fewer mistakes than I. How long you been installing power poles?
I became a dealer in 2000. You know, they've been in business since 98. It's when the first power poles came out. So I've been a power pole dealer for over 20 years.
That's a long time. And you're a top seller too. If you look back in his garage here, he's got some awards right there hanging from the ceiling.
We do a ton of power poles. They're a great fishing tool, anchoring tool. You don't even have to be a fisherman to be able to use one. Anybody that wants to go to the sandbars.
There goes all your old bushings there.
So as you can see, I just popped this off. All the old bushings fell out.
Yep.
They're worn because all the little tips that hold them in place are all gone.
Right.
So once again, I'm going to throw those in the box. Here's the new set.
Squirrels are having a field day over here apparently.
Must be mating season.
It must be.
So I'm just going to pour them out on this trim tab here so we have all our bushings in position. And once again, a little grease. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure the old bushings are all gone out of here, and they are. A little bit of grease on the inner ones. And that's going to pop in here like this. Actually, there's still a piece left in there, so I kind of felt.
Make sure we get that out.
Yeah, we got to get that out of there. And you can always just use a nut to get the little piece out. Then I'm going to check the other side, and there is as well.
Another small piece there.
So it's clean.
Yep.
So now we're going to put the bushings in.
You got a fresh pallet there.
And
clean slate.
they go in. Another grease on the other side. So there's two inners, well there's four inners, but two that go on actually go on the stern bracket, and then two that go on the outer channel. And we haven't put those in yet, but we will. Next. So now we're gonna put the inner channel bushings in, which fell out when we were taking it apart.
Yeah, the old ones fell out.
Old ones fell out. A little bit of grease, press them in a little bit. Sometimes it takes a little nudge in there to push them in. Sometimes you might have to use a pair of pliers, but these are going in pretty easy. Like I said, grease is your friend. If you grease it, it goes in real easy.
Yep, that one goes on the inside there.
And this one goes on the inside here. Okay, so now we're gonna prepare the bolts for the, and
So
start off.
You got bushings for each side there.
Right, these are 5/16 bolts. On the older models, they use 5/16. On the newer ones, they're 3/8 bolts. But in the bushing, washer bushing, we'll add a little grease to this just so it. So sometimes if you're having trouble getting the bolt in there, it's probably because there's still a bushing or a piece of the bushing left in there. So you want to make sure that you get all the old bushings out. Sometimes they break off and only the center portion will be stuck in there, and those are the pieces that you have to get out of, otherwise they won't go in.
Right.
So,
and they're kind of easy to miss because they kind of look like they're part of the arm.
Right, and they could be embedded in here as well.
So we got rid of that old one. That one was in there. It kind of snuck past us, but we figured that one out.
And so you want to run this in until it comes out the other side.
So you can definitely notice that the bolt clears more compared to when that old bushing was in there.
So we're going to add another bushing, a little grease, make sure it goes in all the way, a washer, and a nut. And then we're just going to tighten this up just a little bit loose, and we'll work on the next one.
Cool.
So now we're going to do the bottom one. Washer came out. Let's see if I can get this bolt. The bolt. This one's bent as well, but we're putting a new one in, so that's a good thing.
Yep.
And so now you can lower this and pull the bushings out. So as you can see, they're falling out because they're broken, but they're intact. See, these still work, even though the little tip may be broken off. This pole was in pretty decent shape because the bushings are still pretty much intact except for the little ring that holds them in place. But they'd be held in place anyway by the bolt. So we're going to use one of the old bolts and dig out the old bushing right here. As you can see, there's pieces of it. Push it through. And get the other one out on the other side. Okay. So back again with the little grease on the two inner bushings. Bushings are all the same, the inner and the outer bushings, so there's no top or bottom, or they'll fit on the U channel or on the knuckle. And just need to press them a little bit with your hand, just in there like that. Two bushings, the bigger bushings on the lower U channel. A little grease on there, a little grease on here. And these go in here like that. Pressed in nice and easy. Same thing on this one. This one is a little loose on this side, so I'm going to add a little bit more grease so it gets held in place. U-channel, you know, after being, this thing is probably a 12-year-old power pole or more, and the U-channel has a little wear on it, so nothing that's going to hurt it, but the bushing doesn't fit in there as tightly as a new one does. So now we're going to bring this up, spread it a little bit, holding the bushing in place, and
being mindful of those bushings trying to jump out of place there.
All right. just like that. It goes in. So we're going to hold it here and put the bolt again with the new washer first. New bushing, outer bushing. Little grease. Bring it back through the same way as the other ones were. Just screw it in. There we go. Another bushing. Some grease. The washer. Spread that grease around a little bit. Push that one in. The washer. And the nut. And just take a few turns on it. And once we put it all back together, we'll make the final adjustment. So there you have it. That's how to rebush a power pole. And this thing will be as good as new. It probably lasts another 10 years.
It looks
or longer.
It looks a lot better with that new hardware on there for sure.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to reattach the ram to the pole, and we're going to start the bolt on this side, as you can see.
We're reusing a good bolt. Some of the other bolts we took out were definitely damaged and bent.
Well,
this is a good one.
Right, and they didn't give you the ram section in the kit, so.
And I didn't ask for it.
Right, so you want to bring it up to where the once you put the ram back in, the power pole is pretty much back together. There we go. And it's just going to screw right in. Yeah. Okay, so now basically the power pole's all back together.
Awesome.
So we're gonna make the final adjustment on these nuts. Factory says, you know, you don't want to tighten them too tight. All you really want to do is tighten them down till the bolt head comes past the nylon lock nut. So we're just going to do that nice and easy. You know, there's no need to over torque it. You're just going to tighten them down till.
Definitely make note of this. Take a look.
Till the nut.
Look at that bolt head.
Bolt is even with the edge of the nut, and that is tight enough. So you can see this one's not tight enough yet. A couple of turns.
A little bit more. Flush. Maybe
get it flush, and it's good right there.
Beautiful.
Same
That's a really good tip right there to have that tightened down correctly.
Yeah, you don't want to over tighten. A lot of people do, and then they just bind and they'll start squeaking and making noise. Just even, it's tight enough. Same thing over here on these new ones. Flush. A little bit more. Flush, good enough, right there. And this thing is
that right there.
Right.
There's a good angle that lets you know right about where the tip of that bolt should be, right there.
And that's all you need to do. Just make it come out past the nylon.
Looking good. All right, are we ready for the spike?
Now we're ready for the spike. So the spike's a little trick too sometimes. Sometimes they go in real easy, and sometimes they don't. But since this is a new knuckle, I'm gonna say it's not gonna go in real easy. So for years and years, power pole had fiberglass spikes, and I think about 3 years ago, 2016 or 17, they changed it to an all composite spike. So they're all black now, and they don't shed glass like the older models did. If you had an older model and you ever bumped up against it, you had fiberglass on you. And,
yeah.
Anyway, the new ones don't do that,
which is really nice.
Right, and they're all black. So the spike, in order to install it, it's got two notches, and the notches are going to go where the bolts go in. So the notches go to the rear.
Show me that again.
The notches, and they go to the back side. The spike is going to fit here,
so the bolts can pass by.
Right.
Got it.
So all I'm going to do, this one's got a little burr on it, and I'm going to take my pocket knife, if I can find it. We just pulled it out of the package and
open that channel a little bit more.
Well, just get the burr out of it. Makes the bolt go in. Okay.
Yeah.
Little burr there. No problem. So we'll see if this thing goes in nice and easy. It looks like it is. So Chris is going to go ahead and lower the power pole till I tell you. A little bit more. Okay. And we're going to line it up and push it in by hand, just like that. As you can see,
you got daylight on the other side.
Right.
On both holes.
And we do have a new kit for this as well. This comes with bushings as well. These are 1/4-inch bolts. We're going to put a washer on one side of each, a nylon bushing goes on the other side.
Washer on this side.
Washer on this side. Nylon bushing
on this side.
on this side. A washer and a nut. And these are 1/4-inch bolts, so we need to switch to 7/16. And I don't know if I have a 7/16 out.
We got one.
Yeah, we got it. Here it is. So hold the bolt on one side and just tighten this. Now these may have to be tightened a little bit tighter than going just past.
Right.
We'll see once I get the lower one tightened, because the spikes on these.
Right. This is going to take most of the abuse. Right. Here.
So we're going to check it. Can you raise it up just a little bit? Oh, good. So the spike is nice and tight, so we don't really have to tighten it anymore. I'm going to give a little ump, and this one as well. And that's good to go. That thing is nice and tight. Go ahead and raise it all the way up.
Well, how about that?
And there you go. That power pole is rebushed in
less than an hour.
Less than an hour.
That's pretty special right there.
Pretty easy if you have all the tools ready to go. Simple procedure. Power pole has all the parts available. The bushing set might cost you some money. They warranty just about anything, but if you're going to rebush it, that's part of the normal wear and tear.
Right.
So there may be a charge on that. I think the entire kit is less than $40. So
awesome. Well, this has been a really good learning experience here, and I tell you what, if you've got a power pole that needs maintenance, or you want a new power pole, or just about anything else installed on your boat, Ed is the guy to call. Suncoast Auto Marine. I've been trusting Ed for years to work on my boat and put new gadgets and gizmos on there and solve little problems. The guy knows boats. So definitely check out Suncoast Auto Marine for your next boating service. Thanks a lot, Ed, man. It's been fun. Thanks for showing us how to fix up this old power pole.
problem.
Subscribe to Head First Fishing. Hit that bell notification button so you'll see the next video featuring the yacht father, Ed Fernandez.
The yacht father. That's
Adios.
good. Thank you.